Foots, we are already deep into the draft. I know there's a couple weeks left in the NFL season, but
Yeah.
nobody loves the draft more than you do. How has your process gone so far? You've been enjoying watching all of these guys this year from college football.
You know, Zach, when we came together, we said that we wanted to attack this offseason. Been working with you, did some stuff with Vach earlier this week. I'm going to be doing On the Clock with Sky. I love draft. I know you have crossed over and you're great at what you do. And we've even decided to do the draft guide. It's been a blessing, man. And we started early. That's one thing I can say about Zach and I. We said we wanted to get on this. Really, we were having these talks in September when the season was still in the fold. With the season now being like completely out the fold, we've already been able to develop opinions. And I think with the college football playoff coming up, Zach, we'll be able to really round out all of our thoughts. So I'm excited.
Being Cowboys fans, it started a little earlier than usual. We have no choice but to get into the NFL draft. And with this year's wide receiver class is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through our top 10 wide receivers. And like we were talking pre-show, this year's group is just different. Last year, you had guys like Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors. They just that top echelon of guys to where you're like, that's the top wide receivers. This year's class is a little bit different. We're going to go through our top 10 list. Foots, we're going to start at number 10. Who do you have as your 10th wide receiver in this year's class?
So for my 10, and I guess we'll do my honorable mentions later, Zach, but number 10 for me is Miami receiver Xavier Restrepo. People, now what you said is, I want to piggyback on what you said just really quick. This receiver ranking, this is going to be one where we hear it every time. Oh, the scouts are totally different than media scouts. This receivers class is going to be that way. There are going to be people who love Restrepo, great route runner. For me, he's small and he's slow, but he is an exceptional route runner, exceptional route pacer. The problem is, Zach, he's a slot only guy. And like in today's world, not being able to give you really nothing after the catch, not really being able to run past you, that's why it's 10 for me on this list. Who's your number 10?
So I have Savion Williams. I haven't watched Restrepo yet. You know, Foots he's already watched 75 wide receivers in this year's class. But I have Savion Williams, a guy that does a lot of things close to the line of scrimmage, a lot of run after catch ability. I really enjoyed his tape because he looks like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands. I like Savion Williams a lot. I have a little bit of questions about what he can do as a route runner in the NFL, but it's one of those guys, like other guys on my list, get him the ball close to the line of scrimmage and let him work. So who do you have for number 9?
Number 9 for me, Zach, and I'm going through my notes, is Tez Johnson. Now, for other people, he may end up, Tez Johnson may not even be top 20, and I don't know how they're going to grade him. I mean, 165-pound receivers, you know, they'll look at that and say, I just can't. And for me, I just can't. Like, I'm just looking at what I see on film. I even have him over his teammate, Evan Stewart. The electricity for me is just unreal. His play strength is unreal. He went to Oregon with Bo Nix. He was actually Bo Nix's stepbrother. The route running, check. Tank Dell-esque. I think he may have more juice after the catch than Tank Dell. He doesn't go down easily. He's not going to give you much as a blocker, but he actually shows some juice on the edge. It's weird. Like, he's not just a slot only player, and he has elite speed. In my book, Tez Johnson is my number 9 guy.
So you have Oregon wide receiver. Another Oregon wide receiver is in my top 10 list, and I have Evan Stewart. I've told you as soon as I watched the film, that this is going to be my pet cat in the draft.
Yes.
A guy that he's explosive. He has the long speed. You know, he can stop on a dime. And I think he's difficult to defend on all 3 levels of the field. Evan Stewart is somebody that I could see coming in and being a high-end number 2. Kind of,
yes.
My player comp was Devontae Smith. He's Devontae Smith-esque. He doesn't come in with the college production, the Heisman Trophy, all of that stuff. But like his teammate, slim frame, guy that's just, dynamite with the ball in his hands, winning on all 3 levels. So Evan Stewart is my 9th ranked wide receiver. So who do you have at number 8?
Number 8 for me is Eric Ayomaner. And probably messing his name up. Minor. Stanford receiver, big body guy. Everybody's gonna know him for what he did to Travis Hunter a year ago. He just exploded against Colorado. Like he did have a as advertised type game. This year, the film hasn't been as consistent. Now, is that their scheme? Is that, what's the reasoning behind that, Zach? We need to find that out. Can he come to? I think he's going to be a Senior Bowl guy. I think either he's a junior or he may be a Senior Bowl. I got to figure that out. But if he's going to the Senior Bowl, I want to know, can he separate? Because those are some of the things that I had questions about. And with him not being able to separate consistently on film, is he going to be a high level contested catch guy? But he was my number 8 receiver.
If I'm correct, that's the guy. I think a lot of people would know him from that Colorado game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From I think a year or two ago when he absolutely destroyed Colorado for like 200 something yards.
Travis Hunter. Yeah,
it was Travis Hunter. But at my number 8, I had Jalen Royals. Now, this is a name that a lot of people are probably not going to be familiar with from Utah State. A little bit smaller school. They did produce Jordan Love, so there is a name coming from Utah State. I'm sure there's other ones, but with Jalen Royals, like you said earlier, he's compact, but he's a vertical threat. I think you can use him close to the line of scrimmage. They do at Utah State, running wide receiver screens, tunnel screens. And it's interesting when you watch him catch the ball, as soon as he catches it, it's like he levitates 2 yards upfield. Like he's one of those guys that he gets the ball, he's getting north and south immediately. Someone kind of like Evan Stewart that could come in, be a solid wide receiver. He isn't quite the route runner of other guys I have ahead of him on this list, but I really like Jalen Royals from Utah State, and it's going to be interesting to see how his draft stock is throughout this process. So, who do you have at number 7?
At number 7 for me, I have Isaiah Bond. He's going to be higher on a lot of people's list. I like Isaiah Bond's speed. I think that one area of his game that I had questions with is, okay, can he be a consistent route runner? And what I mean by that is, in the NFL, fast guy doesn't always work. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lane for guys like Ted Ginn Jr. There's a lane for guys like his teammate Xavier Worthy. However, one of the questions that I had with Isaiah Bond, he has great tape. It's just too far and in between. Does he have good games? They don't have games where he just doesn't appear. And, well, he disappears. And his route pacing, to me, too many times he doesn't set guys up with moves. He's just trying to run right past them. And it's like, hey, man, in the league, guys are going to put hands on you. You need to kind of learn how to set them up at the top of your routes, at the top of your releases. So that's kind of where I am with Isaiah Bond. That's just me. I know people that are going to love him, and speed trumps all in the NFL.
This video is brought to you guys by BetUS. All your betting needs, BetUS has it. They have a very easy to navigate website. BetUS. If you want to make these plays, make sure you guys make them on BetUS. Even some of the player props, CeeDee Lamb, Rico Dowdle. So you got NCAA on. It's starting to get tight. You got a 12-team playoff. So all these different sports are happening. Make sure you guys get your plays in. Make sure you get those parlays in. BetUS can take care of you. All you got to do, YouTube, 150. Get that 150% bonus promo. They'll give you that on your first couple plays. Make sure you guys tap in with BetUS. The website is very easy to maneuver. BetUS.
But at number 7, I have Tez Johnson. You thought you had him high on your list for a guy that is small. And, I was looking into his profile. The first percentile in weight, 13th percentile in height. It's going to scare a lot of people. I have found myself loving the small electric wide receivers in this draft. Tez Johnson is a smooth athlete. He's fast. He's twitched up. He offers some run after catch ability. And maybe being a Cowboys fan, that's why I like it so much, because it's not something we see a whole lot. But he also has punt return ability. He's just get the ball in his hands and then figure it out later. I just love a wide receiver that can get open, good off the line of scrimmage. So I have Tez Johnson at number 7. Who do you have as your sixth wide receiver?
My sixth wide receiver is Savion Williams, your number 10 wide receiver. So we're on the same page. And I'm going to tell you this, Zach, when I saw that you had him on your list, I'm like, yes. And we hadn't talked about this list. This, just so you guys know, we haven't talked about this list. We're talking about getting to the Senior Bowl and other stuff we got playing. The fact, Zach, that you get it with him, yes. Particularly for the Cowboys. Here's why. In teams that need a guy who will make somebody miss and will break a tackle. Everybody likes to throw around a Debo comp, and they'll do that with Luther Burden. I think there's only one Debo Samuels that exists. The difference with Savion Williams is he's 6'4", and he's this physical, a true 6'4" in this physical. I think that TCU's offense was extremely gimmicky, so they're going to run direct snaps. They're going to run him in Wildcat. Literally, that's like part of their offense. But when you see him do receiver stuff, it's good, Zach.
Yeah.
This is a Bruce Feldman's freaks list guy. Like, he's going to go to the combine and destroy it. And once he does, there's going to be an offensive coordinator that says, I can do something with this. Year one, you'll just run slants. You'll run end breakers. We'll get you the ball quick. Year 2, year 3, we'll develop you. I love his game, Zach. I really do.
And maybe why I didn't have him quite as high on my list is because I expect him going into a situation where you have a competent offensive coordinator that understands the player, doesn't go out there, ask him to run a lot of routes and kill his confidence early in the NFL. Like you said, get him the ball, let him work.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't believe how hard that is for NFL coordinators to grasp. But my number 6 wide receiver, I have Isaiah Bond, and I think you laid it out perfectly, the type of player that he is. Speed is a big factor in the NFL. You know, we've seen guys play or work their way out of being drafted by not running well at the combine. This is a guy that his stock's probably going to rise by how well he does run at the combine. But there are parts to his game that need to be ironed out. You can't just get into the NFL, win off of your physical traits, route running, stuff like that. I really like Isaiah Bond. The speed, I fall in love with the speed. It happened with the 2 Oregon wide receivers, but
yeah,
I like Isaiah Bond. Who do you have at number 5?
Number 5, I have Ole Miss receiver Trey Harris. So it looks like we're getting closer to some of the same guys.
Yep.
I see a lot of Michael Gallup in his game pre-injury. A guy that will snatch the ball out the air, a guy that's a physical problem he's a problem for corners. The only issue I have is the long speed and the long separation. But I think that as a high-end number 2, yes. I don't know if he's going to ever be a 1 because I don't know if he'll ever run routes good enough to be able to consistently separate. Like, if you'll tell me that he'll have the same development of a CeeDee Lamb, where it's like in the offseason, all you're going to do is run routes, and continue to work on your game and get better, then I'm taking him maybe at the end of the first round just because the tools and the measurables are too good. I just don't know if he'll be that type of player, but I really, really like Trey Harris, Ole Miss.
We are getting close to some names, and you summed him up perfectly. But at number 5, I have Luther Burden, and he's a guy that I have struggled with throughout the process, kind of figuring out what I think about him, because like you said, guys that can catch the ball near the line of scrimmage and break tackles, and that's what they not really rely on, but that's their game, are going to get compared to Debo.
Yeah.
There's been one Debo since 2019, whenever he got drafted. I think Luther Burden does have the ability to be a guy that wins, intermediate and deep levels of the field. It's just not something we got to see a ton of at Mizzou with how they used him. But I do like Luther Burden because there are flashes of that potential as a deep receiver, winning in the intermediate parts, going up and getting jump balls, and you like the run after catch ability.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to see him do it more before you get into the NFL. But I really like Luther Burden. Who do you have at number 4?
At number 4 for me is Jalen Royals. So again, we're close. He has some of that Jamar Chase movement to him. Lower half is twitched up, dude. Like, he will run away from you. He will break tackles. He's hardy. I honestly like him on the same level as a Luther Burden as far as creativity wise. A very creative player after the catch when he gets the ball. I think that he'll develop into a great route runner as well. And so you hit Jalen Royals on the head. I think one of the things that I want to see is, how does he compete against big time competition? How does he compete against big time defensive coordinators and big time cornerbacks? But I mean, the run after the catch ability, if you have some of that and the grit and toughness that he has, he'll find a place in the NFL for sure.
At number 4, I had Trey Harris, a
Yeah.
guy with ideal NFL build. If you just look at where he's coming from, if you want to look at the pedigree, you have DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, 2 Ole Miss wide receivers. Harris is a guy that possesses the prototypical NFL wide receiver frame, 6'2", 205. Like you said, I question how much he can separate down the field. He missed 5 games this year with an injury and still finished with 60 catches for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. That just tells you a guy that has a lot of experience already coming into the NFL. Love the size, the physicality. Trey Harris could end up being one of my favorite wide receivers, one of my favorite players in this draft. So who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden. I'm gonna be working on his prospect profile next week. I've watched all the film. I'm now actually going back to 2023 to really get a better understanding of Luther Burden and his game. Zach, I think that Luther Burden is going to get criminally compared to Deebo Samuels. And I think that's going to be a mistake because I don't see that a level of run after the catch, but I do see some better receiver things if he can clean up some of his route running. This is a guy who will high point the ball, snatch the ball out the air. But the problem was Missouri ran 65% of his passes caught were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So like it's all quick game. It's all the scheme I call fungo where he's just screaming to the flats off an RPO look and get him the ball in space. Well, that just doesn't work in the NFL. Like receivers aren't going to come to the league with the play strength to just consistently break tackles over and over again. You're going to have to use him in other ways. And I wanted to see more of that on film. So I want to go back to make sure, because his 2023 numbers were better. So I want to make sure that his 2023 tape, am I missing something? Do I need to move him up over my number 2 guy? But right now he's number 3 for me.
I like that. I have Tet McMillan at number 3.
Whoa.
The frame alone intrigues you.
Yes.
The arm length, the size, the ability to move.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about this in one of our previous videos when we were going through a couple names at wide receiver. I think Tet McMillan is a guy that you have to have a plan for. You have to have a plan to develop him. Kind of like Jalen Royals, you question the level of competition. A guy that's going to have to come in, get to NFL play strength.
Mm-hmm.
But just on the measurables alone, he's going to go to the combine, and everyone is going to drool over how tall he is, how long his arms are, how smooth of a mover he is. I just think I have questions about the play strength, the level of competition, but overall, Tet McMillan people are going to love him. Media scouts are going to love him. NFL scouts are going to love him. So Tet McMillan is my number 3 wide receiver. So who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, and this will probably be a hot take for a lot of people, but my number 2 receiver is Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State. I'm extremely high on Emeka Egbuka. His 2022 tape, better than anybody in this class, including Travis Hunter, at true receiver things. Who was his quarterback? CJ Stroud, great arm talent, digs, corners. He would throw him the ball on time. Emeka would catch everything. He's a great route runner. He actually does some really cool things after the catch as well, Zach. Like he has a bag. This year and last year, battled injuries. So you didn't see the same stuff, not to mention quarterback play sucked. It just is what it is. Will Howard, not good enough. Like it's Ohio State and play calling with Ryan Day. It's almost laughable the talent they have with Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, decent O-line play, decent defense, and they're underachieving. But that's not for this show. Emeka Egbuka is my number 2 receiver in this class.
Hey, we had one. My number 2 wide receiver is Emeka Egbuka.
Wow.
3-year starter at Ohio State. You laid it out there perfectly. I think a lot of his game has, not regressed, but gone the level of play because of the situation, because of the quarterback play. But he's a guy that's had more than 175 career catches and 20 touchdowns. Just watch him play. He looks like an NFL wide receiver. The way he moves, he makes it look easy. He's smooth, fluid. He's always in control. And maybe he's not a guy that's going to just blaze past you, but like we talked about earlier, that's not what the NFL is. He understands tempo. He knows how to get in and out of his breaks, using head fakes, stuff like that. And something that's going to get maybe underrated as the process goes on is his run blocking ability.
It's amazing.
That he adds to your run game, your screen game, whatever you need him to do as a blocker. I think he is a plus in that category. So I'm glad that we agreed on one. We at least agreed on one wide receiver. So I'm interested to hear who's your number one wide receiver in this class.
Number one for me, man, Ted McMillan, receiver, Arizona. Obviously, I left Travis off the list because I don't know where Travis is going to play this year. If he's going to try to go both ways, if that's going to be part of the Dion Prime package, because if he was stamped at receiver, I don't know. I don't have any intel. Then, hey, he'd probably be 2 on this list for me. I still have Ted McMillan 1. I just love everything about Ted. The interesting thing about Ted McMillan, Zach, is he's actually sneaky after the catch. That big frame, I think he's more – everybody's going to go Mike Evans. I think he's more Drake London, but with yak ability. And so, some of the games you watch this year, now his quarterback took a step back. He's been playing with this quarterback since high school. He didn't play that well this year on film, and it kind of hurt Ted. But, he snatches everything out the air. He plays bigger than how big he is, which is scary. So he's going to be a bona fide top 10 pick, and I have Ted McMillan as my receiver 1.
He does look startling how big he on the field. On film, you're like, dude, this guy's got to be like 7 foot tall. But number 1, I'm just gonna put Travis Hunter there. I would play him at wide receiver. Overall, just an insane athlete. It says enough about him that he was playing wide receiver and corner, won the Heisman, all of those things. But I think he's somebody that comes in and gives you a really good NFL wide receiver off the bat. Now, is he better corner? Is he a better wide receiver? That's totally up for debate. But Travis Hunter, my number 1 wide receiver, if that is indeed where he's going to play.
I think that both of our lists little off, but I'm not mad at it. And I think when the process is done, because before we go, Zach, I do have a few honorable mentions. Guys like Kyron Lacy, wanted to see him be more consistent. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, both Iowa State receivers. We get to see them at the Senior Bowl, Zach. So I really want to see how they look versus pro-level corners and good corner play. Torrey Horton is a name, Zach, that I want us to both keep eyes on. Got injured this year. Probably should have came out last year. This receivers class is not bad. It's just different. And so as long as we keep that mindset, I think that you could find a guy in the second round who could come in and turn into a high end 2. If you want to go round 1 for the Cowboys or for whatever team you're watching, because we know we appeal to a wide audience. If you want to go round 1 for a receiver, just know what you're getting into with these guys.
I still have a few guys to watch. Maybe somebody makes their way inside of the top 10 for me, but that's our list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe to me, subscribe to Foots. Foots is on top of NFL draft content. So if that's what you're looking for, Cowboys content too, make sure you subscribe to Foots. We're going to be headed to the Senior Bowl this year. Super excited about that. Get down there, get some videos, and maybe set up a podcast studio inside of the Hilton or something. How about that?
It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait for sure.